Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabalkish binti Muhammad Nasri with matric number B03211005. So, for today, I will explain the introduction of our project named School Library Management System. So, this project is about creating a school library management system that manages and stores book information electronically according to what students need. So, function for the system is to help school students and library management to know all the books that are available or unavailable at the moment in the library. This system will keep the borrower's personal details and also books borrowed and also maintain the detail in the system. It will help the librarians to keep track of the information such as total copies that are available for each book and list of books that belong to a particular category. Other than that, the system also reduces manual work, which if this task carried out manually, the chance of getting mistakes such as data redundant is very high. So this mistake can be avoided by allowing the system to keep track of information such as issue date, last date to return the book, and also even find information, and thus there is no need to keep manual track of this information, which thereby avoids chances of getting mistake.
Hello, my name is Nur Izafakihah binti Fauzi Azli, and now it's my turn to explain about how entity relationship diagram works for this school library management system. Firstly, when a student wants to borrow a book, this system will insert the data that each student has many borrowing details, and these borrowing details managed by an admin. After that, each borrowing details is only for one payment, so when the student wants to pay fine, the student only can make a one payment for one borrowing details. Besides that, this borrowing details has borrowing list as a bridge to include about many book copy in library, because each book has many book copy that can be borrowed for the student. Meanwhile, an outer list table is a bridge to an outer table and book table, so that means an author has many outer lists because an author can write many books, while a book can be written by many authors. Moreover, a book is published by a publisher, and a publisher can publish many books for this relationship diagram. And lastly, this shelf table shows the cardinality for 55 books that can be placed in a shelf.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ashlia Izzati binti Suhaimi, and I am going to present for data dictionary for our project. So we have few tables required. First table is admin table, which the attribute required is admin ID as the primary key, admin name, admin username, admin password, admin contact number, and also email. Next is student table. Attribute required student ID as the primary key, student name, student username, student password, sex or gender, date of birth, and also contact number. Next table is publisher table. The attributes are publisher ID as the primary key, publisher name, publisher address, publisher email, and also publisher contact number. Next is author table, which attribute required are author ID as the primary key, author name, author address, email, and contact number. Next table is shelf table. The attributes are shelf ID as the primary key and floor. Next table is borrowing detail table, which the attributes are borrowing ID, admin ID that is required from admin table, student ID from student table, date borrowed, and also date returned. Next table is book table. The attributes are book code, book title, publisher ID, shelf ID, and category. Publisher ID and shelf ID required from publisher table and shelf table, and book code as the primary key. Next table is book copy table. The attributes are book copy ID as the primary key, book code which required from book table, and also status. Next table is borrowing list table. The attributes are borrowing ID and also book copy ID. Both borrowing ID and book copy ID act as primary key and foreign key, that is referenced from borrowing table and also book copy table. Author list table attributes are author ID and also book code. which also both required from author table and also book table, and both are primary key and also foreign key. And last table is payment table, which the attributes are payment ID, act as primary key, actual date return, fine, payment method, and borrowing ID that is required from borrowing detail table.
My name is Todashi. I will continue with table of data. There are 11 tables in this system. This is admin table with 8 data. This is student table with 9 data. This is publisher table with 10 data. This is author table with 8 data. Book table with 10 data. This is book copy table with 10 data. This is borrowing table with 10 data. There are borrowing list table with 10 data, staff table with 5 data, and author list table with 10 data. This is payment table with 10 data.
Next, I'm going to present for selection and projection operation query from our project. So first question as to list the information for all publisher. So the SQL statement needed is as select star from publisher, which means select star, it will display everything that we entered in our database for all publisher. Next question is similar from question 1, but the difference is the question already specifically mentioned what category that the question 1. So for example, this question asked to category from science fiction. So we have to make SQL statement select star from book where category is science fiction. So the output that we are going to receive only the details from science fiction category. Next question asks us to retrieve admin ID, admin name, contact number, and email that has F as the initial character in the username, and they ask us to rename the admin name attribute as full name. So SQL statement needed is select admin ID, admin name as full name, contact number, and email from admin table, where admin username like F%, which F% mean any name that is started with F have to be the output. So the output that we are going to receive are admin ID, full name, contact number, and email only from the person who have F as the initial character in their username. So that is all for question from selection and projection operation.
I will continue with aggregation and grouping operation. To retrieve the total numbers of students, we need to select count all from student. To count the number of books that are in science fiction category, we need to select count all from book where category equal to science fiction. To calculate total fine paid, we need to select sum fine from payment. To display admin ID and number of borrowing details that they manage, we need to select admin ID, count admin ID from borrowing detail group by admin ID. To display shelf ID which has book on it and number of books on it, we need to select shelf ID, count shelf ID from book group by shelf ID, having count shelf ID more than or equal to 1.
Next is join operation. Join operation is a binary operation which allows us to combine join product and selection in one single statement. It is to help us to combine data from two or more tables. So for today, I will show example question of inner join and outer join. So the first one is inner join. Inner join have three types, which is neutral join, equal join, and theta join. One of the example question by using inner join is retrieve book code, title, and publisher name by using neutral join. So your answer based on book title in ascending order. So the SQL statement is select book code, book title, publisher name from book, natural join, publisher, order by book title ascending. So here we are using natural join, and you can see on the slide is the relational algebra and the output of the question. Here are other examples by using inner join, which is using theta join and equal join. Next one is outer join. Outer join is a method of combining tables so that the result includes unmatched rows of both tables. Outer join also have three types, which is full join, right join, and left join. Here are the example question of outer join. The question is retrieve book code, category, title and the copies, including the one that does not have status by using left join. The SQL statement is select b.book code, bc.book copy ID, b.book title as title, b.category, bc.status from book B, left join book copy bc on b.book code equals to bc.book code. So here as we can see, I am using left join, and as you can see the output also have null values because outer join it will also return the unmatched value. Next one is the other example question of full join. I think that's all from me. I will pass it to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn to show you the nested subqueries equation. The question 1 is to display the borrowing details managed by staff name Nufarisha. The SQL statement will be write as select all from borrowing detail, where admin ID equals to select admin ID from admin, where admin name is equal to Nufarisha. So the output will be show the borrowing details that managed by staff name Nufarisha. The question 2 is display the shelf where the comedy book is placed. The SQL statement will be write as select all from shelf where shelf ID equals to select shelf ID from book where category is comedy. So the output will be show the shelf where the comedy book is placed. Question 3. Display student ID, student username, contact number of student that have a fine of 80 cents. These SQL statements are used in subquery to show the value where the fine is 80 cents. So, select student ID, student username as name, contact number from student, where student ID in select student ID from borrowing detail where borrowing ID equals to select borrowing ID from payment where fine equals to 80 cents. So the output will show the student ID, name, contact number that have a fine of 80 cents. Question 4. Display the publishers who publish science fiction book. This SQL statement, I use any to show the multi-subquery. So, select publisher ID, publisher name as name, publisher address, email, and contact number from publisher, where publisher ID equals to any, select publisher ID from book, where category is equal to science fiction. So, the output will display the publishers who publish science fiction book. Question 5. Display the name of the publisher that published the Signalman book. The SQL statement select all from publisher where publisher ID equals select publisher ID from book where book title equals to the Signalman. So the output will display the name of the publisher ID, publisher name, publisher address, email, contact number that publishes the Signalman book. So that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening.